Thank you, Leslie. Uh, First off, I want to say I think I just had a chance, is all y'all gave me. And when we were sitting on that couch, I don't know if I had recovery yet, but you gave me a great start. And that's what Pavillon did for me. My name's Kevin. I'm an addict. I came to Pavillon on October the 2nd, 2014. I'm coming up on 7 years clean and sober. Uh, I was a drug addict, but I was also an alcoholic, and all of the above. Favorite drug was more. Favorite drink was more. Nothing specific, and really, I'm not going to share a long story with you about how I got there and that kind of stuff. I think it's more important about what I've done since I've came to Pavillon and where my life is headed. And I think that gives a better hope than I think everybody has the same story about how they, destroyed their lives. But I'll give you a little short version of it. I grew up in a small town in South Carolina, and very successful. What I wanted to do, I wanted to play high school football, college football, and all of that kind of stuff, and be a teacher and a coach. And I achieved every one of those goals, except college football. I did tear my knee up playing high school football, and that has nothing to do with the story. But that's how I got to. I couldn't play college ball. I had an ACL injury. So I ended up wanting to go ahead and go into coaching, and I did that at a very young age. I actually started coaching here in town when I was 19 years old on the junior high team. Life was going good, drank too much, as a college student. And right after college, me and my wife, we didn't have any children at the time, and we just kind of went with the flow and the crowd, and we both had pretty good jobs, so we could, go travel a little bit in the summertime, go to the party places, what I call them, Vegas and those kind of things, the Floridas, Keys, and, just really living a good life. And all that came to a pretty much a halt when I was 27 years old. I went to a bachelor party in Charleston, South Carolina. We'd been drinking all day at the golf course, and the guys I was with, when we went back to the hotel room that night, I was pretty drunk, ready to, call it a night. And they acted like they hadn't drank nothing all day, and I couldn't figure it out, and not that I was trying to figure it out, but they look like, they're ready to go out to the club at 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. And man, I'm like, man, we've been drinking since, 1 in the afternoon. Well, come on in here in the bathroom. We'll show you how we can get over that, and basically that's where my drug habit started. I walk into the bathroom, cocaine's on the table, and I say, no, I teach school, I'm not doing that. I'm a coach. I don't do that kind of stuff, Long story short, hour or two later, 1, 2 in the morning, I'm, faces over the counter. And that's when my drug addiction began. From that, drug addiction didn't end for 13 years. It was progressively getting worse, as they say, I guess. I guess it's the best way to say that is, it went from that night to probably nothing else for a while to, can we do that again on the next big party we had? And, before you know it, I'm buying different kind of drugs and so on. But I lived a double life, I guess is the best way to say it. I taught school, I coached ball, I did everything I was supposed to do. I was everywhere I was supposed to be. I was always on time. I was always, good at my job. Whatever I needed to do, I took care of it. I was good with my family. I was good with my, my friends, until it came to the point, where it was, you're losing your job because you let a kid get hit in the head with a basketball. And I taught PE. So, a kid getting hit with a basketball is not a big deal. It happens daily. But underlying reasons is, years after that, I'd started my addiction. They knew, but I guess they liked me enough, or I'm assuming they liked me enough. Well, I know they did. I was friends with all these people that nobody wanted to call me out on my BS. They didn't want to say, hey, man, you got a problem. They just wanted to let it go, and, and hopefully you get better. And I think that happens a lot, because, you really like someone, and, you don't want to say, hey, man, you need to go get help. And of course, being hard-headed and being stubborn and being a drug addict and, and all those things, I'm never going to admit I've got a problem. I can handle mine, and that's kind of what got me in that situation. But anyway, they let me go. And when they did, I immediately got another job. Now you got to remember, I'm from a small town in South Carolina, and a guy that I was friends with was the head coach of a team in Charleston, South Carolina, and he offered me a job. Well, my brilliant thinking was, I'll go to Charleston, get away from this small town drug problem, and I'll be good in Charleston. Like it won't be different. Terrible decision, to move down there. My wife and them stayed back up here. I drove back and forth. On the weekends, I'd come home. So basically, I was a drug addict, an alcoholic, and a bachelor in Charleston, South Carolina, in the middle of my life, at 36, 37 years old. And at that point, you're not a good husband, you're not a good father, you're not a good friend, you're just going through life, just upside down. Went there, stayed down there, real successful again, with the teaching and coaching, did a real good job, that kind of stuff. But every night down there, I had the opportunity to go out with a friend, or whatever. And it was kind of a little bit for them, it was people, they're going out one night a week. Well, on Monday night, Coach so-and-so and his wife and family wanted me to go with them to eat. So I go with them to eat, and we have a few drinks, and they leave and I stay, And then on Tuesday night, it's a different coach, hey, man, because they knew my wife and child wasn't down there. So, it's like every night I went out with a different family or a different coach or a different set of friends down there and just drinking and, and like I said, other things, that it's not hard to find in Charleston, just like it's not hard to find anywhere in this world. But, so that got me to a different stage of it. I think up until then, I felt like, I was kind of the weekend guy. I mean, I don't never remember, buying just piles and piles of drugs or piles and, of alcohol and just seeing how much I could do. But I had to have a little bit every day. And that was just my life. Like I said, it was almost like a double life. I did everything right till 8, 9 o'clock at night. And then, my wife and them lay down with my child. She was small, lay down to go to bed. And she had to get up and go to work early in the morning. And from 9 or whatever time the next, morning, it was always seemed like I was running, to say it for lack of better words, just, it was a whole different world from 9 at night until whatever time in the morning when they, settled down. Not working on much sleep, not eating healthy, nothing, just upside down, like I said, a double life. But I was always at work the next morning. I was always smiling, and I was always trying to do what I was supposed to do. And, and again, was real successful, won a lot of state championships doing what I was doing. And my career was really taking off. I'd moved up from a position coach to a defensive coordinator, been offered a job as a head coach, and, and turned it down because, I was in my hometown and really wanted to be there. And, like I said, it's just two different sets of plans. Ones that made a lot of sense, and one plan that was just damn awful. Just what are you doing? So that turned into that. Like I said, I went to Charleston. I stayed in Charleston for the year. The recreation job here in my hometown opened up for youth athletic, over like an athletic director over the local rec league, I guess is what you call it, Tricky County Rec League. Took that job. A friend of mine was the head of the rec, and he gave me the AD job, which was perfect, because I taught PE and I knew all the kids in town. I knew all the people. Jumped right in, and man, I made it grow. I was making all the right calls, was getting the right people involved, and because I'd been here my whole life, just knew everyone. Got to kid, like I said, really growth some programs, did some really good things with them, and again had a great job. I've had 2 jobs that anybody in the world that if you like what I like, that's what you'd want to do. You'd want to be a PE teacher, and you'd want to coach football, or you'd want to run an athletic department, things like that. So everything worked out perfect, except, it was drugs, and it was bad drugs. It wasn't, the quote unquote, the pill here or there. It was, it was meth, and it was stuff that's just, unbelievable that I did. Looking back on just no idea. I came from a great family, when I say that, I don't ever remember seeing my mom drink a drink in her life. I never seen my dad drink a drink in his life. Really didn't have any family members then, that I knew was drug addicts, or, not close family or whatever. I mean, so how'd I get here? How did, that was a lot of times my thoughts when I, sit down and y'all know, you're sitting in that room tonight, you know exactly what I'm saying, but you know what I'm saying when you sit down and say, how the hell did I get here? That happened a lot before I asked for help. It was going good, and just one random day, I go in that morning and my boss says, hey man, we're gonna do this, this, and this, appreciate what you're doing. Hey man, you got 5 minutes, let's run down to the hospital. I want to do a drug test on them. I mean, out of the blue, we didn't drug test there, nothing like that. So as soon as he said it, I knew he knew. But, at the same time, I did like a good drug addict would do. I argued with him and told him, y'all doing me wrong again. Like I said, I'd lost my PE job here and went to Hanahan. And, it was just, again, why y'all picking on me? All the things that drug addicts do, and that was on a Thursday around the end of September. And I said, I'm not taking no drug test. I quit. Well, here I am, I've quit 2 good jobs in the same town. And I guess if you got, what little bit of sense I had left at that point, it was like, nobody's going to believe that you've quit these 2 jobs. They're going to know your ass has got a problem. Something is wrong. Nobody quits the jobs you've had. Nobody. And not with that, that much time involved. If you're young or whatever, it might have been different, but somebody been doing something for 15 years, just don't quit. And, somebody been doing something for 2 or 3 years and real successful, they just don't quit. So I knew what was coming. I knew the end was near, put it that way. Now, I didn't know what the ending was going to be. I just knew the end was near. That was on a Thursday. I went and did drugs on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, as much as probably I'd done in a long time, and just went all out. And Sunday night, I remember coming home. My wife was scared. She didn't know. I mean, she always kind of knew maybe that something was going on, but she really thought it was minor. She thought maybe I might have been smoking a joint here and there, or maybe taking a pill here and there, but she had no clue to the extent of what was going on. And when I say she had no clue, I mean, she really had no clue. She knew I drank too much, and she knew, if somebody was at a party or something, we might go around back. And she thought that was the, really what she thought it was. She was consumed with raising my daughter, which, at that point in my life, to be honest, probably didn't have a whole lot, like I said, wasn't a good dad, just probably didn't have a whole lot. I'd show up, but I wasn't the daddy that I needed to be. That Sunday night again, I come home, it's 10, 11 o'clock. I tell her I'm going upstairs. I see her in the morning, at that point, I'm just, she thinks, I'm just dealing with what's going on. But, really, I'm just going upstairs, get away from her in the house, and do more drugs, that kind of stuff. Hiding the alcohol bottles, hiding the drugs upstairs, all that, again, everybody's got one of those stories. But I was in the same boat. I get upstairs, I got my pistol out and sit it on my lap, and and doing drugs and thinking, there's 1 or 2 things I can do here. I can end this, or I can get help. And I ended up, putting the gun back up and passing out, I guess, at that point, or whatever. I don't really recall how that went, but I do remember, the next morning thinking, this is it. This is, I won't have to tell these people that I got a problem. She was going to work. Daughter was at daycare. Or no, my daughter was at school then. And that night, my daughter had a softball practice up at a little local park here in town. It's 6 o'clock. I called my wife and said, I'll be there. Whatever. She got off fast. She's going to pick her up and go. And I'd sit around all day and, pretty much made the decision on my own, you know, that, you know, that I can't explain this to people. People called me all day on that Monday. You remember I got fired on that Friday, or I quit on that Thursday. I mean, so people had called all day and I just wouldn't answer the phone. I knew what they wanted, why, you know, and I didn't want to answer. And that was like on October the 1st, or September 31st, I guess. And at 6 o'clock, I just pulled into the park and told my wife that I've got a problem. I need help. I'm going to get help. I don't know where, but I know I'm going somewhere. And she didn't say a word. She looked straight at me and just said, I know. So, I mean, you know, she said, me and your dad had talked earlier today. You know, she had not worked that day, which I didn't know that at the time, but she had been with my dad all day and they were trying to find somewhere, you know, for me to go. Side story right there. My dad was the chairman of the Cherokee County Alcohol and Drug Commission, and his son was a drug addict. So this story has a lot of intertwining parts, you know, unbelievable, you know. But he had got in touch with some people, and they knew about Pavillon. Well, I left there. I told my wife I had to go see three guys I'd done drugs with for a long time, lifelong friends, you know. Thankfully, I can say today, all three of them, the third one just recently attended the rooms of NA, and, you know, that's three people. And when I see them, you know, they tell me, you know, man, you made it. And I said, hell, if you can make it, maybe I can too. You know, we all trying to, you know, not together, but, you know, we see each other kind of now in the rooms, you know, but at the time, nobody was quitting. You know, we were having the time of our life, quote unquote. But I went that night and I told my wife, she said, you going to do more? I said, no, I'm not going to do drugs. I'm going to tell these people because I don't want them calling you. I don't want them, you know, messing with my family. I'm making sure everybody's paid up, whatever. And they know not to call me no more because I'm trying to quit. And I think that was the first time that I realized, you know, that drugs wasn't fun. And what I mean by fun was, you know, I thought all this time that those three guys and me were having this great time, you know, but when I go to their house, three different houses, different times, different places, you know, hours apart. I mean, they don't talk to each other. They don't really know each other like that. And I told all of them the same thing. I said, listen, man, you know, I'm going to go tomorrow. They're trying to find me somewhere to go. I'm getting out of you know, this. I'm not doing this no more. And all three of them had the same answer that night. And I'll never forget. All three of them said, you know, wish I was going too. And that's when I realized they was having about as much damn fun doing drugs as I was having doing. They wasn't having any. We were all miserable, but we were addicted. And I mean, that's just what you do. You just continue to do it. You know, you're miserable in life and you don't want to be like that. And then you do it again tomorrow, you know, it's insanity, you know, and you just keep on doing the same thing over and over and over and over. And that's where I was at. But anyway, that put me to Pavillon. I went to my mom's later that night, told them, you know, and by that time that day, everybody knew I had my aunt came up to the house, my nieces and nephews and all, they knew, you know, and here I am a damn mess, you know, just trying to figure out, you know, and you're crying, you feel like you let everybody down, you shamed everybody, you know, and you'll find out, you know, I thought the shameful part was telling everybody that I was doing drugs. Boy, was I wrong, you know. The shameful part's not asking for help. That's when you ought to be ashamed. You ought to be ashamed of your ass that you didn't ask for help earlier. It's not a shame that you're getting help. But that got me to that point. On October the 2nd, I checked in at Pavillon. You know, for 7 days, pretty much I slept. You know, I was so tired, so wore out, been up so many hours, and just, you know, just craziness, and didn't know where I was at really. But and on the 7th day, you know, I just got up and went to the meetings and, you know, that kind of stuff. I mean, I was going the other days, but I was just there. I don't even remember. But I do remember, you know, going in there on the 7th day, sitting down, and, you know, and I was always the back row guy. I mean, you know, and everything I've ever done, I was always the guy sitting in the back and that stuff till I went to Pavillon. And when I went there, you know, I tried that back row for 40 years, and hell, I just went up front and sat down. You know, I didn't know nobody there, of course, you know, like most of y'all don't. And just went up front, sat down, started listening, started taking notes. And, and it didn't take me long, 2 or 3 days, to realize, my way hadn't worked for 40 years. Maybe it was time for me to listen to somebody else. And that's what I did. I just, writing down what they told me in the classroom, and when we'd have our one-on-one meetings down there with Mr. Ray and all that, everything he told me, I wrote down, and I'd go back to the room and read what he wrote down, and they gave me one of those big blue books, and of course at that time I didn't know nothing about AA and NA other than the name I'd heard before. I knew what it was, but of course I was that guy, wasn't a quitter, so I wasn't going, and to none of that before that. And so that kind of got me, intrigued to give me a blue book, and I started reading it in the room at night. I had several roommates come and go the first 2 weeks I were there, for whatever reason. One guy showed out, one guy just got mad and left, and one guy just I'm not real sure. I think he got sick and they sent him and he never came back while I was there. But either way. But so it was, you're in a different room every night, looking at them, and you don't know who you're with tonight and that kind of stuff for the first 2 weeks, and those guys that's got 41 days or 40 days, they're acting like they're having this great damn time because they know they're getting ready to leave, and they feel better because they've been in there for 40 days. They're sober, they're clean. The last day or two they're in there, it was always real funny and real, I say funny, it was funny with us because sometimes it takes people 35 to 40 days before they tell the truth. They don't come in there the first day and say, oh, I did this, this, and this. Everybody always walked in there and they were alcoholic, and that's all they ever done. There's an alcoholic except for that time they bought that ounce of cocaine, and that time they done this, and that time they done that. And we always got a kick out of it, as you got through your 4 weeks or 5 weeks, because you knew that last week that guy was, before he left, he wanted to make sure he came clean. But that's some friendships and things like that we've built, that trust that I think takes time. I understand, because I was the same way when I was going there. I didn't want to say nothing in front of people like it mattered, like they knew me. I mean, they were all over the country, but, you're still acting like you're using those same things you used when you was out using before. You don't want to be honest and truthful because, you're afraid they're going to go tell somebody, but hell, they can't leave neither. So you might as well just go ahead and tell it the first week or two and get that shit over with. Just let everybody know, hey, this is what I did, and this is where I am, and I want help, and that's why I'm here. Because you're there. Get something out of it. It's just a great place. It saved my life. I can remember the second week they let my family come and visit on a Sunday. We had Sunday visitation, and my little girl run up to me and jumped up in my arms, and that was the first time in her lifetime that I was clean, heart, mind, body. Could kiss her on the head, could kiss her in, on the mouth or whatever. I don't know, maybe some of you can relate to this, but when I'd pick my child up and go to give her a hug at night or something, I'd turn my head to the side. I didn't want to breathe that on her. What I'd done that day or what you just felt like it was all over you, the drugs, the alcohol, but I vividly remember, her coming that day, and I didn't have to, hide no more. I could pick her up and, and hold her like I should, and, and do what I needed to do. I completed my 42 days. I had one, maybe what I'd call a burning bush moment up there. I think they took me to Midway Baptist Church on a Sunday. That was a chance to leave the building. At that time, you could only go out on Sundays and you could go lift weights. I think one day a week they'd take you somewhere. So anytime they left, we tried to go with them. But I did remember going down to Midway Church, and I think that was the moment, that I walked in, and it was a little country church. I don't know if y'all been able to attend that yet or whatever if you want to. But they were playing old church songs like they used to play at a little church I went to when I was a child. Really hadn't heard that music since then. But that's when it hit me, I knew, what I was missing wasn't anything spectacular. It was my higher power. I think, my crisis became a spiritual blessing. And that's kind of got me to where I am today. But I do remember going in there, and I couldn't look left and I couldn't look right. And, I didn't want to look ahead, and tears running down your face going, man, where'd I go wrong? Where'd I go wrong? And that was the start of my recovery. I do remember that. That's when I feel like I really started to believe, in something better than me. And we'll see where this goes. Let's try something different again. Been 40 years. I was 40 years old. I get out of Pavilion, don't go directly home to my wife, which probably looking back on it was a blessing because, at that point, I don't want to hear, you screwed up, you did this, you did that. I'm trying to get clean. I'm trying to get, my life back on track. I stayed with my parents, which is not far from here, it's just right up the road. And I never asked to go home. I mean, I've done enough bad stuff in my life, and I'm smart enough to know, that it wasn't right for me to say, hey, let me go home. It was, I'm going to try to do better and, and hopefully this works out. That's kind of our relationship. That's where we were at, in our life. And if she wouldn't have took me back, it would have been, rightfully so. And I can't change a thing about that. All I knew I could do was change from the day I walked out of Pavilion forward. And so that's what I've done. When I came out, I stayed at my mom's probably 6 to 8 months and just going to meetings every night. And I'm going to go over that in a minute. Leslie, I know Leslie's won't hear that, but I was going to meetings every night and going to, I'd show up at the local church here on Sunday, which, that's just what I chose to do, with or without. They didn't, and I didn't need nobody to tell me to go to meeting or, I didn't need her to call and say, hey, do you have a meeting tonight? The answer was always yes. I'm going 7 days a week. I don't have no job at this point. I don't have anything in my life to do, and I've got to do something to eat up time. And that worked out well, but ended up taking a job later on making boxes for TVs, repaired TVs in a plant for $10 an hour. Now, if you're in Pavilion, I know you're pretty well off. I can tell you that. And I never was well off as a school teacher, but if your family can afford to send you to Pavilion, somebody in your family is doing something right. And when you're making $10 an hour making boxes, that wasn't even good enough to work on the assembly line. That's humbling. That's real humbling. That's where you can be. That's what I was thinking, man, this is, this could have been my life. This is where I was headed for. And that kind of ended that. But like I said, I didn't ask to go home. 6 to 8 months went by. My wife seen that I was going to meetings every night. I guess you could see that I'd changed, as far as trying to change. Wasn't going to nowhere I didn't need to go. And like I said, I just meetings every night, church on Sundays. What I did. That's what my plan was. And she asked me, did I want to come home? And of course I did, and we ain't never looked back. I mean, it's been mentioned twice. I think I'd been clean about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years. It was NFL football playoff season. A buddy of mine, we used to do that. We used to cook out on Sunday, watch. I went down there to his house. He cooked out. Now, he wasn't, nothing like that, but she just did still, I guess, in her mind, didn't trust me, fully. It's probably been 1.5 years, 2 years. I went down there by myself. She called me about 7 o'clock that night and said, I know you're doing something you shouldn't be doing. I said, okay, I'll be home in a minute. She's a nurse. I said, I'll come on home. You got one of them cups, I'll prove it to you. And of course, it was one of those deals where you can't wait to get home because it's real good feeling knowing that, you're going to pass this drug test. You're going to pass this everything test, so couldn't wait to get home, and still being a little bit of an asshole, I guess. I filled the cup up way too much and handed it to her. Here, check it, and since that day, that's been 5.5, 6 years ago, she hadn't asked me anymore. If I fell off the wagon, so to speak, or am I doing something I shouldn't be doing? But that kind of stuff just takes time, and really, to get any trust back, I think it's a miracle in itself because, for me, I give her 40 years, or not 40, we were together 23 years, 23 years before then, of not to trust me. So, for her, to believe in me and then to give me that trust back, has been, like I said, that's nothing short of a miracle too. But, and hopefully if you're married, or whatever, that, you and your spouse will work it out. I can tell you from my experience, it was the best thing for us. And I know it's the best thing for my child to have a mother and father present in their life, that really love them and care for them. And I hope, like I said, again, if you're in that situation, it's worth fighting for. Do the right thing and it all work out. Anyway, let me see where I am. Oh, yeah. Okay. That gets me to the point where the show's over. The drinking, the partying, all that. Now, how am I going to get back on life? Really didn't know. I tried to get back into teaching, and that didn't work out for a while. So I just went to work at in sales for a little while. Did that, and then opportunity come open to be like a long-term substitute teacher in the neighboring county, and I knew a few people, and they, had about 2 or 3 years clean, and people knew that I had the year's time clean. They knew that I wasn't that person no more, and they give me a chance to do that. And I'm grateful for that. But of course, that you're talking about half your salary. Did that for a while. A couple of years go by, in year 4, and another guy gives me a job opportunity, and I take it and get back into coaching a little bit. And then I realized, they hired a new coach. That coach got fired. They're bringing a new coach. So it's not going to work out, and I get out again and I'm in sales. And basically at that point, I probably decided, I'm done with my teaching and coaching career. I'm just going to, do sales and move on with life. And lo and behold, August comes around, guy calls me, says, hey man, they got a PE job. And it came open today, and it's a junior high coaching job over in Spartanburg. And man, we'd love to have you, and I'm like, well, okay, I'll come interview. Not really excited, not really thinking that's going to work out, because I've been to a bunch of interviews and got turned down, because of your past. Walk in, it's the week before school starts, so they're in a kind of a bind too. So everything's kind of working out. So I walk in and get the job, start back the following year. That varsity coach got fired. They brought in a guy I knew, and this guy that brought in is different. He's a kid first guy, not much of not football first guy. What I mean by that, people first guy. He said, hey, I interviewed me. He said, hey man, tell me everything, what's going on. I told him, and he said, well, good, we're in the right place. We're going to share our scars. He calls it wearing his scars. We wear our scars where we work at now. Everybody's got a story, him included. And maybe not mine, but he has a story. So he calls it wearing your scars. And, that's funny how, to me, you get put in the place you need to be. So, there I go. Again, this is my 3rd year starts in the morning. Matter of fact, teaching full time. I'm also coaching full time varsity football again. This is my 2nd year of that, 3rd year back teaching in this district. Life's back on track. Now that took 7 years. In 7 years, I've probably attended I can't tell you a number, a lot of NA meetings and AA meetings. And Leslie, I know, wants me to talk about this a minute. When I came back, they had an AA meeting in my town. Didn't have an NA meeting. I was here 6 months. I didn't relate to those people. Not that there were bad people. It was just a lot of older gentlemen and older women, and I was middle-aged, I guess. But, and what they talked about and what I talked about wasn't the same. And they had about 3 guys in there with me, and I talked to those 3 guys, and I said, listen, guys, let's start an NA meeting. At least, we'll see what happens. That March 8th, 6 years ago, was March 8th. And we started, and we had our first NA meeting in Cherokee County. And on March the 15th, the guy that started with me passed away from an overdose. And again, that's another one of those things that really had a big, on my recovery, a big, because that's when I think I realized then, how real what I was doing was, until then, I don't know, that I knew exactly, how dangerous what we were doing all the time really was, didn't care. But, at that point, you start caring, like I said, and that guy passed away, from an overdose, our 2nd meeting. And didn't make it to the meeting he was supposed to chair, and didn't show up. When we called, he was home dead. And life goes on. I mean, And I ain't trying to be hard or harsh, but you know, life goes on. It didn't end my recovery; it helped my recovery. Uh, so we started an NA meeting that's really successful. We meet on Wednesday nights and Sunday nights, and I'm sure Leslie will share that information whenever you getting ready to check out. You know, we do have some alum that attend that went to Pavilion. Actually, people that work there that come regularly. We actually have a really big group on Sunday night, usually 30 to 35 people. And on Wednesday nights, we usually, you know, 10 to 12, and it's locals or whatever, mostly because we meet later. But, you know, when I say I got into recovery, I got into recovery. I did the 365 and 365, you know, 2 meetings a day sometimes and things like that. And one thing I want to tell you about a meeting before I have to get off here is, you know, don't always go to the meeting that's right up the road from your house. I think this helped me a lot. I went to the meeting that took me an hour to get there. And then we met for an hour, and then I talked to those people for an hour, and then I drove home for an hour. Man, that's 4 hours that I didn't have to worry about doing drugs or drinking. I think that's important, you know, that, you know, it took up time. And looking back on it, you know, time was my enemy because, you know, when I was sitting around home, you know, that's when I wanted to do something. But when I was going to a meeting and I had to drive to North Carolina or I had to drive to Greenville or somewhere to get there, that took up time, you know. And then when, you know, you come back, it's 10, 11 o'clock at night, and that's normal for people to go to bed. You know, I found that out. You know, people go to bed 10, 11 o'clock at night. I'm one of them now. But, you know, before then, you know, but I think, you know, to get in a meeting and try to attend as many as you can, you know, I can't tell you how many times I went to a meeting and something had happened to me that day and I heard the exact same thing that night. Somebody else had that same thing happen to them, or what we talked about that night, or whatever was supposed to be on, you know, the reading that night. It just always hit home. It was always, you know, and 3 things, you know, that I think you're going to have to do, you know, to make it. And that's be honest and open-minded and willing. And to me, honesty was just tell the truth all the time. It's like now I don't have to have notes or anything to do one of these meetings, you know, because I just tell my story and it's the same every damn time. So, you know, I don't need it wrote down. Be open-minded, try something different. You know, like I said, I had 40 years of life where I tried to do it my way. And, you know, I was open-minded enough to try it another way and other people's way and my higher power's way, and be willing. And I think that willing comes back to going to meetings, you know, are you willing to get up and, you know, drive, you know, or go to a meeting tonight? You know, I was willing every night to do that if it meant I wasn't going to do drugs anymore. But like I said, again, today, I'm teaching school, I'm coaching football. I'm actually on the school board here in Cherokee County, and I'm also took my dad's spot when he passed away. I'm on the board of the Cherokee County Drug and Alcohol Commission. And I don't say that to brag or whatever to y'all. I mean, what I'm telling you that is for this shit's over if you want it to be. If you really want this to end, it can end and you can have any life you want. That's why I'm telling you that. I've done everything I wanted to since I got clean. I mean, everything can happen for you if you're not using drugs and you're not drinking alcohol. And that's why I wanted to share that last little bit. Like I said, it ain't about me. And, you know, while you're in there, try to find somebody that, you know, you can relate to. And she mentioned relationships earlier at the start of the meeting, but really try that. My guy was Dr. K, an Indian doctor, and here I was, a redneck football coach, and he was an Indian from Pakistan or India. Well, I'm not sure exactly. And me and him had a room together, and he hit me one night with some real good knowledge, and I always share this with everybody. He said, "Hey, man, you know, you just at halftime of your life," which I'm a coach. I could relate to that. You can make the halftime adjustments and win the second half, and that's what I've done. But here we are. I wish all of you guys the best. Thanks for letting me share just a little bit of my life with you, and, you know, prayers to everybody.